How's it going? I'm Marcus.
And I'm Rami.
And on this podcast, we try and figure out what this podcast is about.
And what we're doing with our lives. But today, we have no guests. It's just Marcus and I.
Yep.
What are we talking about, Marcus?
Don't know. Let's see. It's going to be a great episode. Hope you enjoy
tuning in.
We should go through the WhatsApp messages I got today.
I was getting what? I was getting abuse.
Dogs abuse. Dogs abuse.
Dogs abuse.
Lads, my mates were slagging you.
What's dogs abuse?
You know, the way you treated like a dog. Treated the way you treat a dog. Apparently dogs are badly treated. It's fine.
What are you talking about dogs abuse treated? Are they in California? Dogs are treated very well.
In Palo Alto. No, I don't know. That's a saying. Dogs abuse.
Never heard it.
Well, might be Irish, mightn't it?
Sounds pretty Irish.
Yeah.
Sort of thing you do in Ireland? Abuse dogs?
I mean, I don't abuse dogs.
Well, you say that now.
Yeah. Does it look like I'm looking up or straight?
It looks straight, really straight. Usually you're looking down and you've got the camera pointing at you.
That's why I wanted to fix it. Because the camera's up here and the guests are always low and it looks like all the videos, you're like, chat. And I'm like, look like I'm asleep.
You're doing these. You're doing this one. Except with Bonnie.
I do that a lot. I noticed that.
Except with Bonnie, there's this massive smile on your face. Carol's like, Marcus looks so happy about this conversation.
I fucking love that guy. He's brilliant. I really am. I'm stalking him as a mate. I don't know. I just want to talk to him.
Yeah.
All your mates are good lads, actually. All the lads from the wedding and stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
why would I not have good lads? Why would I invite lads that aren't good to just because I feel obligated?
Yeah. No, I don't know. I mean,
do you have a lot of friends who are not good? Do you have a lot of not good lads?
Well, I don't know. My mates are very different than your mates, is what I would say, in terms of you generally have good,
nice friends,
like as in nice people. My mates are sound, hilarious, great crack, but crack more so than like supportive and
good.
You know, I don't know. That's not fair to say because they're so supportive of this podcast and stuff, but it's Irish culture is different, isn't it? How people know the line of ribbing and where it's okay and where it's not okay. Like that's a really fine line.
Yeah. A big part of it is time, isn't it? Trust, relationship and time.
Yeah.
And the longer it is, the easier the rib.
Yeah. And village community, like, you know, Ireland's smaller and there's something about, you're with people for longer periods. Like you say, you're up through school, you spend a long time with them. My Limerick mates who I'm in a WhatsApp group with, I've known since I was 7.
Yeah. I mean, you're cousins, basically. You're all you're all related, right?
Kind of.
Isn't how it works?
They know all the dirt on me. I could never be a politician. This podcast can't actually take off because they would destroy me like tabloids.
That would kill any aspiration. Does Ireland have a tall poppy syndrome?
What's tall poppy? Oh yeah, cut him down. So that is it. So there's a famous saying. So someone said on one of the Irish talk shows said, you know, when someone sees Bono out there, they don't say there's Bono up on that hill. How can I get up there with him? They see Bono up on the hill and they want to pull him down. So it's like, I guess that's the tall poppy. You know, anyone who puts the head above the torch, cut it down. Is that the
that's the Australian kind of story. And I think it's like a reversion to the mean. It's why Australia is like a very low dynamic range. It doesn't have super wealthy, high class. It doesn't have a super low. It's pulls people up, pulls people down, but there is a centralist to it.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of reinforcing feedback loops that keep it that way, not least of which is tall poppiness and pulling people down. And there's no like ostentatious display of anything. And, you know, being too aspirational, being too ambitious, all of it. I'm not saying people don't. I'm just saying culturally, fabric wise, it's a little bit more reversion to the tall poppiness.
Right.
And like, I think it has a stabilizing element to it. It has definitely some corrosive negative element to it. But it kind of has a nice, something nice about it, something warm about it and a grounding.
Yeah.
But there is a real balance between things that seep into the psyche at a young age versus the total can-do positive model of the US, which for all its pathology and kind of wackoness, there's enough value there that I see it cuts through that I go, I'm totally converted.
Do you think it's still like that in the US? Do you think, I feel like there's a whole counter pushback now. Everybody hates, all the millennials hate that they've been told that you can do anything you want and that you can be the president if you want to. Like, isn't there this like surge of, we were promised everything and we actually got nothing. We graduated into a recession. We've now we're going to have to pay for all the boomers in retirement. Like isn't there a real?
There definitely is, and I think that's most countries, most current OECDs, and I think it's most generations. I'm not sure they're still not positive. I think there's still like a, oh wow, amazing general the lack of ribbing and lack of sarcasm, those kind of artifacts, I think all kind of ladder up to a general outlook that's at least about positive thinking, projecting positively.
That's
even
right.
if it's not going great, but just it's great around the corner, it'll be fantastic. Like your lot could be the lowest, I think, here, and you're still going, it's great, it's fantastic. You're on a smile.
And you're bought into that. You're like, yeah, you like that.
I mean, I always liked positive thinking. I do think it's real, and I think it's not manifest, but I do think there's psychological effects to it, and there's just not much point to the negative cycle.
How far does it go? How far does positive thinking go? Does it go outside of self?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is pure upside. On the margins, there's delusion, but otherwise, I think it's pure upside.
So positive thinking is pure upside. I want to argue that with you.
Go on.
So here's one. So Steve Jobs was incredibly positive and believed he was a fruitarian and believed he could cure his pancreatic cancer through other. He had the option to get surgery early, and he decided not to, and decided to take a heavy fruit diet and meditation to solve it. Tell me about that. How that positivity is all upside.
Look, when I've had a heavy fruit diet, let me tell you about my upside.
It's your downside when you go heavy fruit. Nobody wants to know about that.
It's worked a treat. Look, within bounds. Let's talk about the caveats. You're spot on. You've poked the main hole already, which is there are fundamentals of science. So kind of, as I said, the margins of delusion where you're not seeing things for what they are, and you're careering off a cliff and you're like, I'll be fine, I'll just will it out. No, there are some physics limitations of science that are real. So when it comes to modern medicine, when it comes to like very real phenomena, you're not going to positive your way out of them. But by and large, like the macro narrative of life, what you do, what you can achieve and things, I'm not sure I'm a living embodiment of it, to be clear, but I do think there are kind of forces in the upward trajectory if you allow them.
What are those forces, though? I want to dig into it. I'm interested in your spirituality. Is it spiritual, or is it just, is it energy, or is it just if you're nice to people, they'll tend to be nice back to you? Where does it go to?
Yeah, I'm not even talking about people. I'm just talking about your outlook and what you focus on and what you, and like, again, it's the classic, are you narcissistic or the other one, right? Is it always your fault? Is it always someone else's fault?
Yeah.
And there's an element of, positive reinforcement, which is, no, it wasn't my problem, with someone else's problem. Like I have a definite tendency to blot out bad things that I've done or things that weren't good, that didn't happen well to me, whether it's in high school when I threw a pencil case through a window, or whether, I broke someone's heart, or whatever it is. I have just an innate ability to just completely mash them out. And I have this reinforcing loop of remembering positive leg things for kind of whatever it is. And I think what it does implicitly is build confidence and reassurance and kind of legs on a table as, think big. So I used to read self-help books when I was younger, for sure, right?
Yeah, I agree. I agree in terms of if you're incredibly negative, every interaction you have with someone else can be negative. Like you can have, there are on the fence interactions from buying groceries at the store that if you're a jerk, they'll be a jerk back and all your interactions become negative. I agree with that. And I agree with if you're very negative and you become stressed and keep it in your body, that energy has to go somewhere, and you get run down, you get sick. I don't know that it gives you cancer or things like that, but I do think you make yourself sick. When my gallbladder jumped out of my body, it had something to do with me, not taking care of myself physically, but also it happened at a time when I was really, really stressed. So that stuff. I believe in that stuff. So I believe that it can extend beyond yourself. Being positive can extend beyond yourself, but only to the degree of interactions with people. You know, probably not like, manifesting things. I went through this big manifesting things thing. Maybe everyone did in my 20s when I was like 25. Read a bunch of books on it, and visualize the future that you want, and it'll be real, and like all that sort of stuff. The Secret came out. Do you remember? That was a big thing.
Of course,
like,
I was waiting for the Secret
now, but like when the Secret came out, that was like it's
You and the
embarrassing
lads?
now. Well, it's embarrassing now, but when I watched it, I was like, this is incredible. The law of attraction. Boom. Let's do that. Let's just manifest shit everywhere. It's going to be amazing. So I'm not on that wagon anymore, but I am on the wagon that, your emotions and your outlook on life can have a big impact on your interactions with other people and how your body feels. And I think that that's important.
So yeah, okay. So let's maybe break it down from like the nucleus to the outer. So for sure, I think it has an impact on your own like mental health and outlook and just happiness in general. Number two, what you're extending to is then it also has an impact on your own physiology, and impact. I think that's pretty well proven. Then number three, does it have an impact on like what happens to you, right? Before we get to other people, kind of what happens to you as direction, paths, opportunities, etc. And I think that's like a complex system because it's inclusive of other people, of opportunities, of what doors you open, of how you look at things, of opportunity, things you take, the luck you create and all that sort of stuff. So I'm not sure that there's much difference between manifest and just constantly being like open to things, whether it's growth mindset or just positive thinking, kind of can do, it's the fake it till you make it, try to, you're only as lucky as, you're willing to try.
Yeah.
I'm not sure those things are indistinguishable. And then separately, there's, this kind of free energy vibe with other people where, one unit of positivity is amplified when it's reflected back. I think it's some of the freest energy you can possibly harness, right?
Yeah.
If we had Bonnie to whack that in a power wall, we'd be dreaming.
I read something, just a couple of paragraphs. Emma Watson wrote something recently where she went to, do you know Emma? No, not Emma Watson.
Hermione.
No, not Hermione. Emma Thompson. She's a famous actress, British actress. She does all the like Shakespearean stuff and
the best.
Anyway, I was just randomly reading an article that she wrote about. She went to like the ballet or went to some play or something with her mom and her daughter, and she was like, it was really surreal for her to see her mom kind of navigating life, kind of in an older, frailer version of herself. Kind of, she's got a bad knee and she knows that that's her weak side. So she kind of sits down in a certain way and she knows where the crowds are and is just very thoughtful and careful. And she's got low energy. And, she's like, the difference is when her daughter comes into a room, just walking into a room, the energy and light she brings with her. And Emma's like, at some stage, I must have brought that light into a room with me. I don't bring it now, but like she has it and she has an abundance of it and she's not even aware of it. But then she, it could be positive energy or negative, but you can tell when she steps in the room before you even see her what that energy is. And then her mother has got this calming influence that no matter what the energy is, she can kind of absorb it and like deflect it. Like, and Emma's like in the middle where she doesn't have the superpower of time nor the abundance of youth yet, but there's she talks about that like energy, not as it being like chi or whatever, but like just youthfulness and bounding versus having navigated life and knowledgeable,
Yeah. I think energy can sound very mystical,
right?
And spirit, when actually it's just, what's coming down the pipe? Oh, someone's being loud or moving, or just literal energy. Preservation theory. If you're moving your limbs fast, if you're moving your face, all of that is energy that gets visualized, represented through time and space, and you receive it, right?
I read one of the things. I mean, it's tangential, but they were doing it was in the New York Times or something established. This is not just I read it in the toilet somewhere while in a pub.
Something established.
Some doctor,
the people
big on facts here.
Yeah.
Some doctor was doing a study for on patients with epilepsy, and it was on an elderly man, and they had all the gear rigged up to him, and they were in the middle of a test, and he passed away. He had a heart attack and died. And what they saw in terms of what lit up in his brain was it's only one, n equals one, but they've never recorded someone in this way, hooked up to all these machines, actually passing away before. And they believe that it could offer evidence that life does flash before your eyes in the moments after death, because for 30 seconds before his heart attack and after, so after his blood had stopped pumping to his brain, that part, that dreaming part, and that memory recall and play part of his brain lit
flashed up. Amazing.
So they were like saying, this is,
amazing.
They need a little bit more data than that to confirm that it's real, but it's a thing,
I feel like that's familiar. That sounds quite familiar. There's just a lot of physiological things that happen to your brain, rushes, chemistry, and all that sort of stuff that can very easily explain previously mystical phenomena or out-of-body experiences and so on. All it takes is
and we're so dictated by hormones. It only takes you to not have had food for 2 hours and suddenly you're a dick. Yeah. Right? It's like you can have a drastic personality change just by being a little bit hungry, so it's like, how much are we us versus chemicals?
Allegedly. We're entirely chemicals, just shaped by something in between.
And we react to things, and then we justify how we react in our heads as opposed to us actually having very much control over what we do.
Yeah, I think there is a desperate need to feel like there's reason,
control over sense and
control over it. And as soon as we became aware of the consciousness, we had to believe that it was actually us. Okay, I'm in control. Two things while you were talking about that last flash of something that was suspended. Have you seen the thing that's redoing the rounds at the moment, which is the vocal track of a mummy that was reconstructed?
No.
Have you seen this? Oh, we have to add it.
Like as in mummified?
This is a mummified, and they just use kind of some imaging technology to basically understand the vocal track, and the vocal track can tell you quite literally what the sounds are of the kind of key phonemes and so on. And so they reconstructed one of the phonemes. Yes, I can't do it justice, but it's like a serious news report. Just look up mummy vocal recreation or something and see if you can play the audio for us here.
Scientists were able to mimic Nessie Amun's voice by recreating his mouth and vocal cords with a 3D printer. It allowed them to produce a single sound. Oh! Scientists were able to mimic Nessie Amun's voice by recreating his mouth and vocal cords with a 3D printer. It allowed them to produce a single sound. Oh,
oh my God. Science. Oh man. That's amazing. Somebody spent ages on that. Oh my God. That's wonderful. Okay.
The news reporter. It's a serious scene.
Oh man. I can't believe. Thanks for that, Rami. I feel like that's going in the bank of things I can look at if really bad day. Wonderful.
You need to add that to the system, to your mixer.
Yeah. Okay, new button for sure. That's good.
I mean, what? You just imagine him that he's like currently being frozen. I don't know why I think.
Why is that the noise?
He's dying, and
I love it. Is that doing the rounds now, or is that something you saw before?
I feel like I saw it a while ago, but I kind of went, that's it. And then right now it's doing the round, and it just got me.
It's so cool the stuff they can do, though. To be fair, like I don't know if do you know about the Bogmen of Ireland, and so there's Yeah. So in Ireland, the soil is very wet, where you make the peat and stuff, and it's perfect conditions for if you die in the bog. It just there's people come out
preservation.
Perfectly preserved, like even the food in their mouth, in their stomachs, they can tell their last meal, like not just through DNA tell the last meal, actually see what they've eaten, like everything preserved.
Yeah.
The bogmen, you should look that up. But anyway, it's incredible, the stuff. I'm sure that's probably how he sounded. Unfortunate that they chose to do his last words as opposed to that's magic.
Just working through it, I was like, the whole point of the vocal track is that you can basically work out what waves resonate, the frequency kind of shape and the arc of all your phonemes. Not one. I'm like, it's not as though there was a recording in his throat. It's
no, I know you could, but that's the range of what he could do. I mean, but yeah, that's weird. Such a weird thing for them to do. Okay, we'll stick that up. Link in description to that beauty.
I'm wondering what all of the longevity, increasing life, fountain of youth tech startups are doing right now. Yeah. The number of them that we heard, like Larry Page has one, and every tech billionaire had set up a fountain of youth startup.
Peter Thiel
has one going
in the space.
What are they up to? What's going on right now? What are they all living to 300 somewhere in Montana?
I don't think, so what I read was so it depends on who you're talking to. Peter Thiel wants to live long enough until he can upload himself onto a computer.
I'm with that.
But he doesn't want to live for 300 years. He wants to live until that technology's here. I believe that's his stance. Okay. I think the same for Bezos. The thing I read, though, is that the technologies people are investing in is that it's not you live forever technology. It's that you will have a sustained quality of life for the 100 years you're alive. So like, skiing at 75.
Got it.
You've got a youthful 30-year-old body right up until the point you die.
Got it. That sounds feasible, doesn't it?
I would love that, though.
That sounds feasible.
I don't think people genuinely want to live forever, but I think having, getting a bit older, being in our 40s now, it's just like, fuck. Every organism has a natural lifespan, but it's about increasing the quality of that lifespan rather than
totally all about that. Also, it feels like people already know the secrets. We just haven't codified it, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's, the CEO Biden working at 87 or however old it's
87. He's only actually 77. I think,
whatever.
Yeah.
Still, he's on the verge of 80 and he's the president of.
It would be hard to take on your hardest job, your most significant job at the age of 77. Oh, have you been watching? I love this. Have you been watching Truth Social? Have you been following this? Do you know what Truth Social is? Is it amazing?
I do. I want you to give me your best rendition of what is going on right now with.
So for folks who've not been following, so last year or in 20, where do I start? So
when he got kicked out of office.
For the last number of years, there's been an increasing pressure on Facebook, Twitter, etc., to call out false claims and to stop, particularly in the last couple of years, the president, when he was tweeting things that were untrue, to actually they were putting messages up initially saying this is not true, or you need to research stuff this yourself. Once he lost the election and after the January 6th riots, the insurrection, Twitter kicked him off Twitter. He's banned for life from Twitter, so he can't have a Twitter account. And one of the things that made Trump very successful was his use of Twitter. He's very, whatever you think about him, he's very effective in his use of social media. And Rami can tell you about that because he's worked with his social media team. But anyway, that aside, so Trump lost his megaphone at a kind of a vital time for him where he wanted to continue the onslaught of, this election was stolen. So he decided to set up his own social media company. And it's been kind of floundering. It's been stop starting since then, since December of 2020, when he decided to do it. But now this week, they've just opened up just an iOS app only, launched, no Android yet, for people. It's basically, you can share your truth. It's obviously Twitter. They've photocopied Twitter and just done a worse job of it. I'm sure there's no algorithm, so it's going to be a mess. But you can share your truth. the nice thing about this is everybody has their own truth. There's no such thing as the truth. It's like your truth. This is my truth. My truth. I'm going to share this here. If Rami agrees with my truth, Rami, you can retruth me. So instead of retweeting, they've trademarked the word retruth.
Can I double truth or dare you? Can I?
I don't think you can. Maybe that's the next feature. I don't know. But retruthing's a thing. And yeah, it just seems crazy. But on the 20, whatever it was when it went live 2 days ago here, on the 21st of Feb, because this will come out later. On the 21st of Feb, when this went live, it was the number one downloaded app in the Apple Store. So it's a real thing. It's only on iOS, and it's Trump Twitter.
So good. It's so good. For a bunch of reasons, not least which the logo was directly ripped off. Like the bunch of design languages ripped off another app that was found out. There's a bunch of threads around. Like
it was taken from open source as well, wasn't it? Open source code that they used originally. Weren't they initially sued because they took open source code and just basically just like, okay, that's ours now, and just like built something and didn't start. And they're like,
didn't acknowledge anything.
That's not how open source works.
I don't know. So from memory, we tried this before, right? That's what Parler was. Do you remember Parler?
No,
because that was the one that was happening on the 6th of January. So the deplatforming Jack went out first on Twitter, and he was the first to kind of hit it up. And then the discussion was, okay, other socials they're going to follow, and then sure enough, very quickly other socials followed. But the fascinating thing was when the infrastructure team, when the infras followed. And what I mean by that is Parler hit it up. Parler was the right-wing social media equivalent of choice. And it had the red branding, Parler. And at that point, it was all on for young and old because it was its own social network, fine, but it needed hosting. AWS stepped up and said, we're not hosting anymore. Ooh. It needed to be on the iOS store and Android.
Oh, I forgot about that. I'm remembering that now. Yeah.
Both Apple and Google stepped up and said, you're not going to be on our platforms. And then it was left on the web, and they did their own hosting and spun up their own servers. And it was farcical, right?
Someone's
performance-wise.
Full of servers.
Right. And then the ISP stepped in and said, nah, we've taken down Daily Stormtrooper before on their blogs. We'll happily take you down as well. And all of a sudden, the kind of the superficial, the social networks are the ones to be blamed, and they're the gatekeepers. Everyone else is open free web. All of that crumbled very quickly when every layer of the stack made a call and said,
yeah. I remember that now. I'd totally forgotten. Yeah.
And I think that was a really, really powerful kind of reminder that there is someone owns the piece of infrastructure somewhere along the stack, and it's just a matter of degrees before they decide they're not going to support you. When the ISP can cut you off, the system is not,
right?
At some degree.
I wonder how they got around that now. Surely they're not just launching an app built on existing infrastructure.
Yeah, well, I mean, the question now is, what do you have to do in order to get? Because at the time, Parler was the thing that was live streaming. This was the genius of it, because it was such flimsy infrastructure. There was a bunch of live streaming during January 6th insurrection.
Yeah,
and it was really easy to crawl all of the video and photos because it was on this open web infrastructure, and it had timestamps and it has user accounts, and like people everywhere were just downloading the troves and just handing it over on a couple of USB sticks. Just so the investigators are going, well, they deleted their account, but here it is stored like really easily accessible in JavaScript or whatever.
Yeah.
Very funny. Very funny.
Love it.
Yeah. Well, we'll follow that one with a keen eye.
Yeah.
I mean, it's closely paralleled with, I mean, Orwell would just be, he'd be taking notes, wouldn't he? He'd be like, right. Truth, retruth. Got it. Clever. Good. Got it. Just
the branding is amazing, though. Like, it is
amazing in like a sick kind of logical extension of what you do kind of mode. Right?
This is my truth. I mean, it's just so share your truth and then retruth it.
Yeah. Take the word and make it utterly meaningless.
Yeah. Like fact. This is my fact. It's not.
Change the word.
It doesn't have to be true.
Just language is meaningless. Meaning is what is meaning of meaning, and just re-mean it for everyone. You still haven't told me what was the story with your mates, the feedback your mates, and why they were dog treating me. What was the dog chat?
one of my mates I pinged the Slack group today. I haven't pinged them for like 4 or 5 episodes just because I don't want to exhaust that resource. But I pinged them and said, look, the Bonnie one is out. It's one of my favorite interviews so far. Good value in it. And they said, this is great. But one of the lads said, how many weekly listens are you getting across all media? And I said, that's a very personal question. I did feel it was a bit it's like a little bit like how much do you earn or something, kind of way. It felt like I was just like, oh, I feel a bit fun. So instead of that, my natural reaction, I just screenshot every bit of data I had and just sent it to him so that he could see it. So I just sent it to the whole group. I was like, look, not a lot. Anyway, but they were saying they were going through the data, and I'll just call the data out here. We've got 49% of our audience is American, 44 is Ireland, 3 in the UK, less than 1% in the UAE. My sister lives in Dubai, so that's her. We've got less than 1% in Mexico. That's Eduardo, my streamy LBS mate, and 0 contribution from Rami's mates. So what they've said is they're like, so this is where they start to turn on you. He goes, I
love that we're able to do personal shout outs based on the stats. Hey,
tell Rami to start pulling his weight, not an Aussie to be found on there. Bonnie knows he's shit. Interesting guy. He said, also impressed by your professionalism in saying flute 57 times in the last episode and not making one single dick joke. You've changed. And then everyone was like, yeah, I thought the exact same.
Lads.
Clearly Rami has no mates and his family hate him. Not one listen from Oz. Love the stats. Speaking of which, why hasn't your dad been on there? They're looking at the age demographics now. No one over 60. And then someone screenshot a comment from my dad saying, no, he's doing the YouTube version, not the audio. So they basically dissected all of the and instead of them turning on me, they turned on you, which is one of those rare things that happens every now and then. Like, Rami is clearly not fucking pushing this.
And they were.
Yeah.
And there you were accusing them of ribbing you. There you go, mate.
Yeah.
They're supportive. You say lads
supportive.
Not supportive.
They are. I'm actually genuinely surprised how supportive they are of this podcast, just because I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting to put it on there and get slagged, and that would have been totally fine too. Like,
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it, mate. I love it. I love that you basically crowdsourced your analytic deep dive.
Well, one of them was like, send it on there. Tell me everything. And he didn't even just say, like, how's it doing? He was like, across all platforms. Yeah. Oh, okay. Let me just dig into that data for you there. I've got a work call in a minute, but let me just get that for you straight away.
Let me just pull out the report. I love that. I want to know iOS, web, and all the audio. It's great. It's great that you've got some data monkeys working for you. That's great. Yeah. That's excellent. If that's allowed back home. As I was logging in, I got the message on the family chat that my mum had discovered it, which I hadn't told the fam because I was just like, I actually don't know other than it was a thing. We were just doing it, and I didn't, until it gets something,
Yeah.
So I think you'll see some solid Australian.
I hope
Australian,
so. Now that you're on the list, list.
Yeah. I think you're going to see some solid. I think you'll see Mum boosting it with her friends and social networks. I think you'll see some great commentary. If Tiny Beans is anything to go by, you're going to see Lynn right on there, front and center, just giving us the advice. Speaking of ribbing, you're going to see it right on there.
Very positive. Just to be clear, I don't care. I really don't care how many. I don't care. So, I just. I'm
just saying it's about to light up.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's probably enough. I really don't know how much we're going to. Maybe we'll do a short episode this week.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of stuff that needs out there.
Yeah. We probably don't need to talk war, given it'll be,
Yeah. Anything too current. I wonder what we have in there. Maybe there's a few laughs in there. I don't know how much product stuff is in, but
just have the mummy thing playing nonstop
in the background.
I'll just have the whole thing be the mummy thing.
I'll definitely save it to the keyboard.